Hey everyone, hope you're all keeping well. I'm Matthew here with my wonderful co-host and best friend.
Callum.
So today I'm just going to pass over to Callum to explain what movies we're going to be talking about, specifically what time loop movies, because that is our subject matter today. So Callum, off to you, bud.
So today we're talking about, in my opinion, the pinnacle of the three tentpole movies that I think about when I think time loops that I suggested we watch today. Uh, my first choice was Groundhog Day, as I feel like it's sort of established said genre.
Absolutely.
Edge of Tomorrow, which I feel is sort of a revitalization of that idea and sort of putting it into a different genre, adding it to the sci-fi theme.
Sure.
And then Happy Death Day, which is the first time loop horror film that I've ever seen. I mean, horror film's generous, talking about Happy Death Day, but these are the three that I think about strongest when I think time loops.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that we have set to talk about today. Have you watched all three of these films today, Matthew?
Have indeed, mate. Have indeed.
Did you have fun?
I honestly, I have nothing but positive acclaim. You know me. I like time travel films. I love time loop films even more. So I can't wait to get into it.
You know I hate time travel films, and I feel like this circumvents all the problems of time travel because you can just say, well, those events literally never happened because it's been totally reset. So
Mhm.
I feel like you avoid all of the plot holes of time travel, except
Sure.
Edge of Tomorrow, which I have issues with.
Okay, can't wait. This is probably the episode I'm the most excited for recording. I'll be honest, I'm so pumped for this.
Calm down, Matthew. Lower your expectations.
But yeah, to everyone, thank you so much for everyone who's liked, subscribed, commented, shared, all that good stuff. We really do appreciate it. And be sure to comment your thoughts on the films down below. So,
Right.
first film, I guess, if we're going chronologically,
Indeed, yeah.
Groundhog
So
Day, yeah.
we'll be opening with Groundhog Day, yes.
Awesome. Let's do it.
So, do you know much about the background of this film? Sort of the on-set issues.
Not really, mate. To be honest, not really.
Shall I share?
Please
I've,
do.
I've, I've written a little piece,
Okay.
so summarized from an article I read. So this film sort of the film was directed by Harold Ramis. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Not particularly,
He
mate.
he, co-starred in Ghostbusters with Bill Murray, but he
Okay.
actually found a lot of success as a director.
Cool.
So he directed this film, and there was a lot of tumultuous energy on the set. Ramis and Murray had been friends and collaborators since the 70s, and this movie was pretty much the decline of their friendship. They had incredible creative differences, and Murray created numerous problems on set. He would behave childishly and try to steer Ramis away from the comedy vision that he had designed for the film. Despite these issues, the film was a huge hit, but Murray vowed never to work with Ramis again, which led to them which led to them not speaking for 21 years.
Wow.
Which seems huge to me because, I mean, it's just like in the end, it's just a film and it worked out well. Like, I don't see how it went that bitterly.
I'm surprised it actually was a success given the amount of, like off-screen drama there was. Like, I thought this film was incredible success. And that's really, it
Yeah,
seems like a very small issue to get worked up over, to not speak for over 2 decades.
yeah, because from what I could glean, Bill Murray had some undescribed personal issues. There was maybe some family tragedy or issue in his personal life,
Yeah.
and then Harold Ramis had wanted it very steered towards comedy, and Bill Murray wanted sort of a more introspective drama, and then the two were sort of fused, and it was wildly popular. Uh,
I'm so
so
glad that was the case, by the way. Like, I think it works perfectly like that.
Yeah. So Ramis dreamed of them becoming friends again, and when Ramis was on his deathbed, Murray was finally convinced to speak to him again, and they reconciled right before Ramis's death. So
That's
it,
really,
it, it, it worked out in the end, but that just seems so ridiculous to me. 21 years.
yeah, that is crazy, bro. Like, I'm I haven't heard of that story before. It's incredible. I'm glad it has a happy end. Well, a reasonably happy end. Not it's bittersweet, obviously, because Ramis is passing and stuff. But I'm glad they squashed it.
Yeah, I fully agree. So were there any initial points you wanted to make? before we launch into
I
the
just
film
wanted to
itself?
ask you, like, I don't know whether I can't remember if it was you that told me this or an article I've read or something, but is apparently I have the recollection that Bill Murray is not a very well liked actor in the industry. Is that true?
I mean, from what I can believe, he does seem like a bit of a douche, but I don't think he's I don't know how that opinion is spread. Like I don't know how the rest of Hollywood feels about him.
Because I actually think his character's really. I think the character arc in this film is probably the best character arc in any movie I've seen, and that is so maybe not the best, but up there. Like I think the message this film has is impeccable. And I just love every second of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I really agree with you. Have you sort of like what's your opinion of Bill Murray? Like, have you seen interviews of him or anything where you've sort of had a sour opinion?
I think in some interviews he can be a bit dry in terms of like responses and stuff, but I don't know. Like I don't actually know much about him, bro. I haven't seen the original Ghostbusters at all. And the only other film I've seen him in is Zombieland, actually, as well. So,
Yeah.
but
Have you
yeah,
not
what?
seen Garfield?
No,
My God, Matthew, what was your childhood? You didn't see Garfield?
is he Garfield?
Yeah. Like those films are grim. Like the second one is so much worse though. It's called A Tale of Two Kitties.
Oh, it's a bad time.
Yeah. And he plays like his British prince doppelganger. Like it's so
Wow.
bad.
I have a big question to ask you in relation to the film, right? What would be your actual reaction to the time loop? Because I think it is quite relieving that that Phil realizes that he's a time loop. Like there's no he doesn't notice immediately, but it's pretty evident that he's in a time loop. So what would be your reaction? Like, would you be a bit taken aback? Would you be like, yes, I get to relive this day again? What would be your reaction, mate? If you didn't know it was going to loop and loop and loop?
If I didn't know it was gonna loop and loop and loop, I would probably be happy for the initial few days.
Hmm.
And then I would probably try to end my life quite quickly
Yeah.
because I that would be hell for me, and that's a funny comment I've made, and I'll get to that at the
I
end.
know exactly where you're going with that as well. Brilliant.
Okay. Had you done any research on theories?
I mean, I think our notes are so similar for this. Like the last like
We'll get to
paragraph.
it. We'll get to it at the end.
Okay. I'm so pumped for this.
How would you feel in that position?
I think if I knew straight away that the day was not going to loop again and I was just reliving it for one time, I'd be like, this is awesome. But if it was going to loop and loop and loop for years or however long, like yeah, you would get to the stage where I would think about what's the point. Like it would be really. I think the most powerful emotion I'd feel is probably like fear. Like it is really scary to think like you're just eternally like there's no end really. I thought that's a brutal thought, I think.
Yeah. Uh, but like I feel like he should have caught on a lot quicker because like he still steps in that like 2 foot puddle.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually true. That's true. Like, what do you think of Phil as like as a guy? Like, do you think he is quite mean and he sort of reminds me a bit. Oh, this film sort of reminds me a bit of A Christmas Carol in a way, like the sort of transcendency from like bad guy to good guy. I don't think he's entirely bad, but I do think there's a lot of room for like improvement at the start.
Yeah. I mean, sort of like the film sort of like pegs him as like this immoral sinner that needs like this cosmic retribution where the world needs to set him right. But I mean, he seems like kind of just like kind of a bit of a dick, but like I'd say more than half of people are like that most of the time.
Yeah, like he's not the worst of the worst, I don't think.
No, I think he's just sort of like a bit of a dickhead. Like I don't think he deserves this.
Yeah, like I think he is quite mean to Ned, because I'm quite partial to Ned. I do quite like him. He seems quite friendly to Phil, so I didn't like when he was quite mean to him.
Yeah, he does seem quite friendly, doesn't he? We'll get to that later.
Love it, mate, love it.
Yeah. So I'll move away from those points. To I mean, I've written, yeah, I like if I was in Phil's position, I probably wouldn't commit crimes like he does. You know, he sort of like tries to trick cops into being hit by a train. You know, I probably wouldn't do that just in case this is the last day of the time loop.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just stuck in that position.
I know. Like, I think there's a lot of weird. Like, one sort of moral question I wanted to ask you was like, do you think Phil is a creep because he just tries to have sex with like this lady that he's just met? Like, oh, the chat off line is like so awkward. He's like, "Your English teacher, what was her name?" And then he's just like, "Yep, cool, bye." Like, that was, I thought that was weird.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's sort of in About Time. About Time, as you know, is my favorite film.
Yeah.
But you know, watching it back, I sort of like cringe at the idea that he sort of goes back in time to like sexually impress Mary. You
Yeah.
know, he like he has sex with her the first time, then goes back, has sex with her again, goes back, has sex with her again. So for her, it's always the first time, but he's already had sex with her. So
Mhm.
it's sort of like a weird, morally questionable sort of assault almost.
Yeah,
And it sort
definitely.
of feels like that here, where he's sort of using parlor tricks, like, and you know, the excuse of, well, like the idea that he's known her in the past, to trick her into having sex with him. So yeah, it's not something that I would ever do if I were in his position,
Yeah,
because
definitely
it
not.
does seem really sketchy.
It does definitely seem sketchy. Like, I think him and Rita, Phil and Rita have great chemistry, to be honest. Um, but like, I don't know. I think Bill Murray's line delivery is so similar to Robert Downey Jr. I don't know if he got that as well. He's so dry and sarcastic, but I think it really works.
Yeah, like he seems like a guy that people would want to date. So I'm surprised that he's sort of like he has to trick women into liking him.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah,
like
definitely.
he doesn't seem like a terrible guy. Like he obviously could do with some moral improvement, but I feel like you could do that in a more ethical way than like trapping him in a time loop.
Yeah. Although it's saying that, Phil doesn't know that the time loop could break. So like by putting people's lives at risk, it is risky. It's sketchy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what I've written here, honestly. Uh, I mean, I've written is his trying to woo. What the fuck? Is what? Is
Is
his
it-
trying to woo Rita immoral? As it's not as though he's choosing to experience this. What? I don't even know what that means. I wrote this like a week ago. I have no,
That's
like that's
fine. It's
gibberish to
fine. Don't
me.
worry.
I have no idea. Uh, I, I guess I mean that like he is stuck in this time loop, but like she is as well unknowingly. So like it's not like she's choosing to stay there all those days that he's spending with her. So he's sort of forced her into spending time with him as well. Like it
Yeah.
seems just a bit iffy.
Yeah, that's the thing, mate. Like, I'm trying to think of. It's been about a week and a half since I've seen this film, so I can't remember. But is there a scene where he doesn't go to sleep? So, like, to him, he just wakes up at like 6 a.m. on whatever date it is. Like, what a does it? He doesn't ever like not go to sleep. So, like, that could be a way that he just doesn't think of to end the loop. I can't remember.
There's one time where he tries to stay awake, and I assume that just uh, whatever deity is forcing him in this situation just puts him to sleep.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting. I know they don't show us like every single day of the time loop, but I thought it would have been an interesting road. I actually liked the way it went down that they just show him in the town. I can't remember what the town's called. It's a really curious name.
Uh, is it Ponsatucky or something?
It's like what is it? But yeah, like I thought it was really interesting to just show him in the same town all the time.
Yeah.
Punxsutawney. Yeah.
What?
Punks
Isn't it Punxsutawney?
Punks Punxsutawney? No, Punxsutawney. Yeah, Punxsutawney. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Sort of like having the blizzard, sort of like forcing him to stay there. Gives it a smaller scale that yeah, I really appreciate.
Likewise, mate. Likewise.
Uh, like honestly, this is just insane rambling that I've written down here. Like I'm writing all of these in pencil in like the like scrawliest handwriting I've ever seen. Like I've honestly just like lost all of my writing skills. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to write an essay again.
I'm sure you're not the only one, mate. I'm sure you're not the only one.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like some deity put him in the situation to teach him a lesson, but I think he became a worse person through the experience in some aspects, you know, because
Really?
I mean, well, I mean, it doesn't, he didn't seem like the type of guy before to like find ways to trick women into having sex with him, but he does that several times throughout this situation. Like he uses it to like his immoral advantage,
Yeah.
which
Mm.
I mean, if you know he wasn't put in that situation, he wouldn't have that option.
Yeah, I suppose like there is a scene, you know, when he well after learning, I think it's Rita's favorite drink, he just recites it like that, and it's a very similar scene to when we first met. Like, wouldn't you get suspicious if someone? Obviously, you probably wouldn't think someone's in a time loop, but you might think this person's a bit of a stalker or something. Like if someone had guessed your favorite drink to the exact detail.
Yeah, at the end of the night, obviously she says like, "Did you ring up all of my friends and find out my favorite and least favorite things?" But yeah, that would kind of creep me out. I guess maybe if it was your favorite drink, you would be like, "Oh, lucky guess." But I mean, he just keeps rattling off like all these creepy facts. I would be so uncomfortable.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you was if you were in Phil's position, uh, what would you do during your repeated day?
I mean, I really don't think I would do anything. Like I'd probably just binge watch some TV these days.
I love
But
it.
like back in the 80s, I have no idea. Like there's nothing good to do. Like he keeps going and like, you know, doing the news report and then romancing Rita. Like I would have no, you know, energy to do that. Like I could not give two shits. Like what would you do?
I'd probably, hmm. I think if there was an aquarium in the town, probably go see that. See what's up. And if there's a cinema there as well. I think he learns towards the end like self improvement is the key. So like he teaches himself piano and stuff. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of important to ask the question, how long was he in the time loop?
Yeah.
And do you know the answer to this?
I saw a lot of theories that some was like 1,000 years, some were like 40 years. I don't know.
Yeah, Harold Ramis said himself that he was in there roughly 10 years.
Okay. That's not as long
So
as I
I
thought it would be.
no, but I mean that's still, you know, massive.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I could like, you know, get up and go on the same date every day and like do the same news report. Like I would go absolutely insane. Like
Yeah.
once he's getting out of that time loop, like he's not well. Like
No.
he's going straight to an asylum.
Like even after a few days, you'd be on the brink, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100%. Without Phil, a lot of people in that town are dying in that one day, which seems a bit mad. Like it's such a small town, but you know, on his peak like hero day, which is the one that turns out to be like the definitive day, he like saves the lives of he saves the lives of like four people. Like what's
Yeah.
happening in that town in one day?
That's what makes
Like
me
four
think.
people are dying.
That's what makes me. I have a sort of theory about that I've seen somewhere as well. But actually, you know his sort of scene with like the old man, the homeless guy.
Yeah,
I thought that was really emotional. Like I actually got choked up a little bit because like no matter what he does during that day, the guy's always like not destined, but he's always going to die. So I thought that was really like what he sort of he thinks he's a god, and he tells I think he tells Rita or Nancy that he's a god, and like he
yeah.
realized that he isn't because he can't impact that. Like that guy's always going to die in that day.
But I feel like a version of the film I watched showed the old man dying more often because, like, where did you watch this film?
I watched it on Netflix, mate.
I also watched it on Netflix, but I feel like it only showed the old man dying once. Maybe I looked away and missed it, but I feel like I remember watching a version where he dies and then Phil tries to help him, he dies again. Phil tries to help him, he dies again. But I mean, even in like you know in the final version of events that turns out to be the definitive
Hmm.
uh, version of events. You know, in that day, he doesn't bother even trying to help the old man.
Really?
I don't think so, unless I've just missed it.
Because I remember I think maybe I can't remember what day, because I know there's a day in the time loop when like he goes to like a diner or something with him and like pays for his food and stuff, and then maybe that is the day that the first time he dies, because like he takes him to hospital and stuff. But yeah, like I just thought that was a really sort of emotional sort of aspect of the film. And I guess another question I wanted to ask you was, like, surely killing yourself would work, right?
Well, not if one theory proves correct.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
but yeah, I mean, I suppose not, because just under any circumstances it goes back to the same day, so it doesn't matter how early in the day it ends.
Yeah, and then I suppose that poses the question, like, does every day have like an alternate branch timeline, sort of endgame style, where the events did happen, but just not in Phil's timeline? I think that'd be interesting.
In my brain, I just reconcile it that like the slate's wiped clean every day,
Yeah,
because
just cancelled.
that makes my head hurt less.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
I hate time travel so much, like it creates so many problems.
Um, yeah, one thing. Do you got any points? Yeah.
Well, just I am glad that in the end, like the version of events where he saves like five different people's lives is the version of the day that he gets to live with permanently.
I think I agree, mate. I agree. I suppose that leads on to like a few of the theories as well as to why that day is the final day of the loop.
Like, can I launch into the big theory?
Go ahead.
I don't know if this is the one that you have down, but I'll just go for it. Um, where have I written it? Um, just give me a moment.
No worries. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment your thoughts down below, viewers. Really appreciate
I mean, Matthew, you do edit the podcast, like
it.
you know.
Now let this
Uh,
put out. Let this put
yeah, so I have written it down. I swear.
No worries.
I think I've just gone insane, honestly. Right. So obviously, the big theory of the film is that Ned Ryerson is the devil.
Yeah.
Is this the theory that you've also heard?
Yep.
So this is the theory that I had when I first watched the film years ago, and then I explored more on the internet, and it was a huge theory, especially like it's gone into great depth on Reddit. But the theory posits that the initial interaction between Phil and Ned, where he's a complete dick to Ned, is the reason that he's placed in the time loop, because Ned is a deity or perhaps the devil, and he's placed Phil in his own personal hell, and that it's actually the act of it's not the act of like impressing Rita or saving lives. It's when he buys the insurance from Ned that
Yeah.
breaks the time loop.
Yeah, because I think he
And
buys life insurance, doesn't he?
yeah, he buys like every single brand of insurance that Ned offers. So how do you feel about this theory?
I sort of, yeah, I really identify with it. I think that could be really plausible. I actually like the idea that he's God, not the devil.
See, but I think that the like I don't think the intention of the time loop was to make Phil a better person. I
Really?
think the intention was to punish him. Like I
Really?
get that sense. Yeah, because I feel like if it was God, he wouldn't have let like Phil kill himself. But I
Yeah.
feel like the devil would have let that happen as a punishment. So I sort of resonate with this theory quite strongly.
Yeah, like, do you think that do you think definitively like it was the act of buying life insurance that broke the loop, do you think?
Well, for me, you know, if you buy into that theory, uh, like you know, there's multiple days where he makes Rita fall in love with him, but the only difference in this day, as opposed to like you know like there's the day where he impresses Rita, you know, with like his ice sculptures, and like there's always points where he makes her feel affection for him, and the sort of definitive final version of events doesn't really seem it doesn't really seem like she's more in love with him than normal.
Hmm.
So like the only outstanding difference to that day as opposed to like the day before is that he bought the life insurance.
Yeah, that brings the question, like, you know, do you think and this is getting really deep, but do you think Phil's first encounter with Ned was Ned, or do you think it was the devil? Because
Um,
it almost
I,
feels like the devil is seeking out someone. That in that case, like in that case, it was sort of like it was a coincidence that Phil and Ned met up, you know. But then the fact that I think maybe Ned doesn't exist because Phil doesn't remember him, so I don't think Ned
Yeah.
really exists. Yeah.
No, I fully agree with you. Yeah, I think that the devil just approached a stranger, and the fact that he didn't, you know, agree to make a deal with the devil, as the saying says, he put him in a personal punishment until he made that deal. So I mean, he may well have like done this to every person in the town. Like they may also be living a time loop, but they're living their own time loop, so the timelines don't intersect. Again, this is getting muddy already. Like I hate that. But like, you know, he could put Phil in a time loop and then everyone else in time loop, so they're living their own time loop, which gets cleaned every time. And if that's true, then that opens multiple timelines. So I don't like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say that he does it like one person at a time.
But do you think Ned Ryerson exists, or do you think it's just an identity that this deity assumes?
Yeah, I think he's just put on a human skin and then approached a stranger and said, "Hey, I'm Ned Ryerson from high school," and that's why Phil doesn't remember him because he
Yeah,
never
that's
existed.
interesting. Yeah, I agree, definitely.
Just wanted to see if there's any final points I had. So obviously that's just a theory, and the fact that we don't get an explanation in the film and that leaves it open to speculation is something that I wouldn't normally enjoy
Hmm.
because I usually hate ambiguity in films, but I really love the fact that this leaves it open ended and open
Yeah,
for discussion.
for sure, mate, 100%. Do you want to go into ratings then?
I mean, I just had a few brief
Oh
things
yeah,
to say
go
about
ahead, mate. Go ahead.
sort of the Rita and Phil relationship is like doomed to fail because if he's been in there for 10 years plus, he knows her way too well, like for this relationship to work. Like she's
Yeah.
gonna be like, you know, on like a get to know you date, and he'll just be like reaming off like the members of her family.
Yeah.
Like she'll just be creeped out immediately. Like that relationship is not gonna work.
That's really interesting you say that, bro, because this film really did remind me of how or of when we first met in terms of like the main character trying to romance someone in order to make them fall in love with them. Like I don't know, like you know, I sort of talked about this in like my mention of 500 Days of Summer in movies that shaped us, but like from Phil's perspective, like it takes a considerable amount of time for Rita to sort of fall in love with him. So you'd maybe think that it's not meant to be, but then I don't know. Like, do you think their romance is something that purely happens based on Phil like learning knowledge about her and that way developing a relationship, or do you think like it was just doomed from the get go, like you said?
Yeah, I mean he seeks out like he finds out what she likes in a guy and then becomes that. Like that's not her falling in love with him. That's her falling in love with the kind of guy that she always likes and Phil pretending to be like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a true romance whatsoever. Like I don't think the romance in this film is sweet. I think it's really creepy. And
Really,
I don't like it at all.
I think it's really sweet and endearing, but it sort of does bring up the idea of like Rita doesn't fall in love with Phil, but like she falls in love with the idea of Phil because Phil's sort of like assuming that role, like you said. So I think it's really interesting. But I do really, I'm a big sucker for like romance in movies and stuff. And like I just love like when he's like making her an ice sculpture and they're throwing snowballs with teens in the local area. I thought that was really cute, really sweet.
Yeah, I don't know. Just as I mentioned before in About Time, you know, it was established that you know Mary liked Tim before he started using time travel to like go back and meet her at different points.
Yeah.
Like she always liked him, but in this, Phil is exploiting the time travel to make her like him, which I think that's where it crosses the morality line because she wouldn't have liked the kind of person he was until he started abusing the time travel.
Maybe, but yeah, that's really interesting. Like, do you think this film has the capacity for a sequel in any way? Because I think it'll be really interesting, but likewise, I wouldn't want to ruin this film's legacy.
I think if you maybe changed it up, like their marriage is failing, and she is put in a time loop, and she uses that to solve their marriage problems or something.
That would be really interesting, actually, mate. Or like, yeah, that'd be cool. I'm trying to think how the Ned theory would fit into that. That's for another day. That's for another day. But no,
Yeah.
like any other points for me, bro?
Well, I just wanted to say that obviously we see throughout the film that he improves his personal skills. You know, he becomes a professional ice sculptor, and he learns the piano.
Hmm.
But I mean, he comes out a more skilled person, but I don't think he comes out a better person. If anything, he's worse because he's exploited Rita romantically.
That's interesting, actually. I don't know. I think he definitely has learned a lesson, and I don't know, because there is the moral question of, does he become a better person to woo Rita? I personally think he doesn't by the end. I think he does it just for being a good person. I think he saves those people's lives. Like, you know, Rita's not there when he saves the lives of those people, so I think he does that for being a good person. But then again, like, there is a moral question of, is he trying to woo Rita? But I don't know.
Also, I mean, she's sort of robbed of the knowledge that he's gone through like a moral journey. Like she just thinks that he went through this sort of like personal character arc in one day. So she thinks that he's like a really good guy, whereas he's just been like kind of a bad guy, then a worse guy, then a all right guy. Like
Yeah.
it, you know, I feel like her lack of knowledge of the personal growth and the length of time it took is going to sort of like shape her view of him.
Yeah, it is a really interesting debate, actually. Another question I wanted to ask: Do you think time loops exist?
In real life.
Yeah,
No.
but like, I know, if someone came up to you, right, a complete stranger, and said to you, I'm in a time loop or something, would you believe them? But like, say I came up to you and said I'm in a time loop, like, would you believe me?
I mean, if you could do like, I feel like if you could
What
go
would take
into
it to
like a
believe?
neutral,
Yeah.
yeah, if you took me to a neutral location and then described every event that was about to happen and then it did, I guess I'd have to. But I mean, if you walked up to me and started like reciting personal information about me, I'd be like, yeah, I told you that.
Yeah, but I think that one of the more heartbreaking things of Phil's time loop is that he has to convince Rita every time that he's in a time loop. Like he has to make her believe him, which is, like, that must be pretty difficult.
I don't think he does that often.
Maybe not, maybe not. But even still, like, to have that one perfect night, especially, and I think it's during the middle of the film where like they're close to sleeping together or whatever, and like that's like the perfect night. But then he wakes up and like he has to convince her again. Like, I think that's pretty heartbreaking.
Oh, I was so uncomfortable in the scene where he's sort of like trying to force her to have
Yeah,
sex with
that
him,
that was
and
uncomfortable. Yeah, yeah,
I'm like, this is a PG.
yeah, for sure.
I'm like,
That was weird.
what is it?
That
Like,
was weird.
you've seen Blade Runner the whole way through, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you watch the final cut?
Not the final cut.
No, which cut of the film did you watch?
Theatrical.
No, you didn't.
What cut are we talking about here? What's the difference again?
The theatrical cut has narration.
Yeah, definitely didn't watch that then.
Yeah, like the final cut is the one with like all the like unicorn scenes and the scene where
Yeah, yeah,
like
it's
uh,
sorry, yeah, yeah.
where like Deckard like tries to like force himself on Rachel. Like
It sounded, yeah, it was quite
it's
similar to that.
reminiscent of that scene for me,
Yeah, yeah,
and
and
they're of a
that's
very
it.
similar era.
Yeah, I'm trying to think why I'm getting the names mixed up between theatrical and final cut. I don't know, but
It is confusing. There's like five of them.
yeah, true. But yeah. Any other concluding points from you, mate?
No, that's all from me on Groundhog Day.
No worries. Do you want to go into ratings then, bro?
Sure. Like I feel really nostalgic about this film. Like I used to watch this as a child, and it was great. It was great to watch it again, and I feel like that's probably clouding my judgment on some of the more sketchy elements of the film, because I feel like it presents Phil as a bad guy doing bad things, but I don't think it's always a critique. Like you know, you can obviously, like I would never judge a film for having a bad person do bad things, provided the film was showing that that's bad.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes this film doesn't go far enough to show that he shouldn't be doing that. They're
Hmm.
sort of like, "Ooh, what a lovable rogue." I'm like, ugh,
Yeah.
I'm really
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So I have to take some points off of it for that. But just as the fun ride it is, I'm gonna have to give it a 8 out of 10.
That's. I think you've analyzed it well. I mean, you've critiqued it well. I respect that. I give it a 10 for me. One of my favorite films ever. Honestly, I loved it so much. I loved it so much. I'm a big sucker for time loop / time travel films. So this is right up there.
I do really love it, and I didn't expect to love Bill Murray in the role. and I've never been a huge Andy McDowell fan, but I really like her here as opposed to the other things I've seen her in. So it's a lot of fun, and it was a big part of my childhood. But with fresh adult eyes, some parts of it make me really uncomfortable, and I don't think
Yeah.
the film necessarily meant to do that.
Yeah, no, I can 100% see where you're coming from, bro. Definitely, for sure. There are some weird scenes in there, definitely. So what's the next film? Edge of Tomorrow?
Indeed, yes.
Can I go to the bathroom real quickly?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to pause the recording?
Yeah. Actually, I'm trying to think if I pause the recording. Well, let's see if can I record it again? Oh, yes, I
Do you
can.
want
I
to
can
leave it
pause it.
running?
Okay, so next film I think we have is Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah.
Indeed, yeah.
No worries, mate. Do you want to crack on? With any points you have?
Yeah, sure. So this was a big film of its time. I believe it came out in 2014. I had seen this film previously, and I remembered enjoying it, but I had some problems with it, and those are heavily evident in my second watch of the film. And I don't know how you feel overall about this film, but I have some big criticisms, especially towards the end.
Mm. I think this film certainly.
What are you stacking on there, Matthew?
I don't actually. They're like Mars bar brownies. I think.
Oh, lovely.
But yeah, like I think this film definitely does derail towards the end. But no, I'm a big sucker for time loop films, so this is another. I loved it personally, but I'm really interested to hear your overall thoughts. I think this film is real.
Can I ask, like, had you seen any of the three films that we watched for today?
Have I seen them previously?
Had you seen them previously? Yeah.
No, actually, this is the first viewing for all three of them.
Wow. Like, I feel like for these episodes, like I just suggest movies that I've already seen a bunch of times, and then you watch them for the first time.
I don't mind, mate. I like that.
I feel like we need to get you doing some of your picks for a theme.
I know. I mean, I love listening actually.
Fresh eyes.
So I actually really thought this was an interesting plot. I don't know what it is, but I think movies that are set in the future, like for example, I think Back to the Future, like it was set in 2017 or something. So I imagine watching that now, I'd be really interested to see like the developments. But this movie's set in 2020, so this year. So I thought it was really interesting to see, like, because I think a lot of sci-fi movies like over anticipate what the future technological advancements will be. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they usually do project too far. I mean, yeah, as you said, like Back to the Future Part 2 is 2015, and they expected us to have like, you know, hover skateboards, and they had, all these technological advancements, and that they always seem to shoot way too far. Especially like I'd say Blade Runner is probably the biggest example of that, where it's set in 2019, and we aren't exactly approaching flying cars and
No,
all the stuff that they anticipated.
certainly not. Certainly not. But yeah, I'm just. Do you want to just have you got any opening remarks, or do you just want to go straight for like chronologically, Buzz?
Yeah, sure. We'll just start from the opening, I think. So the film opens with sort of an expository visual of like a news broadcast montage. Do you think that that's better, sort of thematically, than just outright exposition with a character telling another character about the war?
I do. Yeah, I really like it because I think it really built suspense here, and it kind of reminded me of District 9 a little bit.
Oh, I 100% agree. I thought that I'd maybe accidentally put the wrong movie on.
So did I, because I was like, "What the hell? Like, this is really similar." And I haven't actually seen District 9 all the way through. I've just seen bits and bobs, but
Oh, I thought it was too dull. Like I got like 15 minutes in, and it was all news reports. I was like, I can't do this.
but I just there's something about Tom Cruise appearing on BBC News as someone other than himself that does not work for me. It felt like a parody of sorts.
Yeah, no, yeah, it really felt like piss take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just didn't connect with me.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on like William Cage as a character? Like, do you think he's interesting? Because I just thought it was really curious that, like, maybe I'm like I've missed a plot point here, but this is a guy who like hates blood and guts and refuses to serve in the front line. But like, how has he become a major in the U.S. Army?
well, they sort of have like ceremonial roles, and he was sort of head of like media relations for the army. So I guess he was just given a high rank due to his importance
Yeah,
in in the media relations. Uh, but yeah, I thought it was quite refreshing to see him as like a character that wasn't, immediately drawn to the action. He sort of need to be coaxed in like that. That's not really normal for Tom Cruise.
yeah, for sure. I thought it was really interesting, like his character development. You know, and I really appreciated in a some sort of similar vein to Groundhog Day and like how Phil improves his like skills and stuff. I thought how like Cage becomes like an expert at like combat sort of throughout the film was really interesting and compelling. Like it really improved the action scenes for me.
Yeah, I can tell you, if I was stuck in a time loop, I would not amass any new skills at all.
Me neither.
I'd be absolutely useless. Like, I mean, we're basically stuck in a time loop right now. Like, it
Yeah,
is just
closest
the
thing
same day
to it.
over and over again. And like, all I'm doing is just watching American sitcoms. Like, I'm losing the English language. Like I said, like I was bought vitamins yesterday. I keep calling them multivitamins.
Multivitamins.
And I said tomatoes the other day
I
on
know,
the
I know.
podcast.
I still haven't
That,
gotten
that was
over that.
that was a that was a low point, honestly. Because like I speak with enough Americanisms, and now I can't stop.
It's
Like
not a bad
I
thing.
have more interaction with American sitcoms than I do humans.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing, mate. It's not a bad thing. I quite like the American accent.
Sure, yeah. So this film is based on a graphic novel, which is actually called All You Need Is Kill, which is by far a better title than Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, it actually is. Actually, I didn't know it was based on a graphic novel. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, they even recognize that Edge of Tomorrow is such a shit title because like they rebranded it Live, Die, Repeat, which
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know whether that's better or worse.
yeah. Like I remember, I remember talking to our old English teacher, and he was a big fan of this film.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I wasn't aware. I'm surprised because I'm not a fan of this film.
really? You're not a fan?
Yeah,
You don't like it?
I think about two-thirds of it's good, and then like the third act is just complete ass. Like it falls completely flat.
Yeah, it definitely. I think it definitely does worsen towards the end. Bless you. Uh, but yeah, like I think this film handles action really well. Like it's really suspenseful, and it makes you feel like you're on the beach, fighting the aliens. I can't remember what they're called. Do they give it a name?
Mimics.
Mimics. That's it. Yeah, yeah.
I have no idea why. Like I thought that there was going to be some sort of twist that they sort of like shapeshift, and it turns out that like the Omega was the general or something. I thought that they would have gone with something
Mhm.
creative. I mean, like, why are they calling them mimics? Like, it's not like they're not impersonating anything.
Yeah, I know. What are your thoughts on their design? Like, I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it seems quite interesting because they had sort of a like techno organic feel where they sort of seem to like spiral and regrow. Like they sort of seem like nanobots.
Hmm.
Yeah, it felt quite fresh and original. To be fair, watching it in 2020 is kind of unimpressive, but if you look back on it as thinking of it as 6 years ago, like for a creature design made of CGI, I think it's quite original
Yeah,
for the time.
the closest film I could compare it to is probably District 9. And from what I've seen, like I think District 9, I haven't seen the whole film, but I think it handles like the alien conflict way better for me. Obviously, because this film, like, it's more of a war, whereas in District 9, it's more of like a political conflict as well. But I don't know. I thought I thought the film could have done more to like expand out like the mimics and stuff because they're barely
Yeah,
really in it, to be honest.
yeah, they really do focus more on the humans and the combat training, and that I would have liked to see more of their motivation. Because I mean, I really thought they were gonna sort of change the genre and have maybe the aliens be the victims or the aliens working with the government. Like, I really think they could have given more development other than, yeah, they just want to invade because they want to. Like,
Yeah,
it felt uninspired. Also, it seems like that the aliens have been there for years and that they easily, like, annihilate all of the soldiers, but yet they somehow haven't taken over the entire world.
yeah. What are your thoughts on? I was going to ask you, like, what do you think would actually happen if an alien invasion that scale had occurred? Because it doesn't. It seems like the aliens are getting defeated in that war pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be killed relatively easily, but it seems like there's an overwhelming amount of them.
Hmm.
So there's simply not enough humans to kill them all. But I mean, I don't even like I really didn't get from the film what their desire was. Like, do they want to kill humanity or do they want to rule humanity?
Yeah,
Like, because I feel like if they just wanted to eradicate the human race, they could have done that quite easily. Like, I don't know why. Like, I know that they're fighting a war, but you wouldn't think aliens would like agree to a war. You would think they would just go into like a village and kill non-soldiers.
yeah, definitely.
You know, like because
Go
they
ahead,
don't
mate.
exactly have a political agenda, do they? So like
No,
you would think that they would just be fine with killing anyone not on a battlefield.
yeah, man, like not at all. It just seems like it seemed like it didn't give much clarity, sort of about the aliens' motive. So I would have liked to see that more expanded upon a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, just because we don't get to learn their motivation, it's just a bit confusing why they're sort of like, nah, if we're gonna win this war, we're gonna do it fair and square.
Yeah. It just yeah, and it also seemed pretty unrealistic to me that like all the armies from around the world sort of merged together for like a war. I don't think that would happen at all.
Yeah, I don't think like China and Russia would work with America.
Yeah,
Obviously, I'm not hugely aware of the political climate, and obviously, it would change under certain circumstances. Like I feel like obviously, in theory, we would unite against one common enemy, because of like mutually assured destruction. But like I still don't think they would fight hand in hand. I think they would just all agree that they're fighting the same enemy. They wouldn't fight together.
yeah.
But
I
speaking of
absolutely
that,
agree
we
with
sort of see a blend of like English and American officers,
you.
which is why it's so confusing to me why they're still having some of the actors do fake American accents. I'm like, just let them do their English accent. I
Yeah,
don't understand it. Like Franz Dermay, who plays Jax on the DC TV shows, is doing a fake American accent, and I don't know why they don't just let him be English.
yeah, because like he was there, he was Firestorm for a bit as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was Firestorm in The Flash, season three, I think, or season two, and then he moved on to Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, because I actually really liked him in that. So it is confusing why because he is English, isn't he?
He's English, and he's still doing his same American accent, and I was so confused. Like I thought they were maybe gonna have everyone do a fake American accent, but it's clear like it's for the most part set in England,
Yeah.
and there's English actors right there, so I don't know why they have an issue with him being English.
Yeah, like another thing I sort of found confusing about the whole like United Defense Federation was like th- they'd rather have Cage on the front line who has no combat experience than like a highly trained, skilled soldier. I guess that you wouldn't want to lose a highly trained, skilled soldier, but like I thought it was really curious that they punished Cage by by pushing him on the front line, even though like he's no use on the front line really.
Yeah, it seems like he'd be a huge liability if you're not even willing to tell him where the safety on his weapon is. Like he's gonna kill you all.
Yeah, imagine that would be brutal. I actually think that would have been quite funny. Is like in one of the time loops, he just actually like surprised J Squad accidentally. Be great.
Yeah, I really wish it had happened. But obviously, we see that they have like hugely expensive, highly developed exoskeletons.
Yeah,
So, do you think why can't the government just build robots?
I know. Yeah, because the weird thing about the exoskeletons is they are obviously quite powerful, but they just seem so sluggish and slow. Like it seems almost like uh, a disadvantage more than an advantage, like movement speed wise. But like robots would have been more effective as well.
Yeah, I mean, you could even have them like obviously maybe they don't want to trust robots, but I mean, you can just have people like remotely piloting the exoskeletons from like the base.
Yeah. Yeah,
I,
that'd
I
be better actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry to sprinkle a bit of logic into filmmaking. I like I would be
What you do
so like
best.
dire dickhead to be on like a film set. I'd just be like, actually that sucks.
That's sometimes you need that though. Like sometimes you need to point out criticisms.
Yeah, maybe. Uh, I have a feeling that the human not like sometimes I just write down my sneaking suspicions. Like I'd
Mhm.
already seen this film, but I had no memory of it. and I thought that the humans were gonna secretly be the bad guys because that would have been better,
Yeah,
honestly.
I would have
I
liked
feel like
that.
that would have added a bit of depth to the aliens.
Yeah, like District 9 sort of vibes.
Yeah,
I would have liked that.
I have to say, Tom Cruise. Why would you think that sex would pass the power?
I don't know. He tries every available option, doesn't he? Our Tom.
Yeah, he just tries to have sex with Emily Blunt, like, and he's done successful, and I'm happy about that because he's trying too hard, honestly.
Yeah, no, like yeah. What did I have about Cage for? Yeah, like the only thing I might say about Cage is like, why is everyone such a dick to him on the plane? They're all gonna die in like 2 seconds when they get down on the beach. They're all like cracking jokes. Like there's a dead guy in their suit. You're all dead. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you're going into a very serious battle. Maybe like instead of making fun of the guy, actually help him. Because I mean, they're all meant to be united against one common enemy, and they seem to have all volunteered aside from Cage, so they want to fight this battle. So like, why not, try to help the best outcome by making everyone actually battle ready.
Yeah, another thing, and I know I've just pointed out criticisms throughout the way, and don't get me wrong, I do love this film, but I thought it was really confusing that Sergeant Farrell doesn't believe Cage can time loop, even though like aliens exist in this universe.
Yes, that's what I wrote. You're living in a fucking science fiction film, but time travel's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't understand that at all.
and the fact that like secretly the UDF are like doing research on the mimic's time looping ability, given that oh
Dr.
what's
Carter.
what is it? Sorry.
Dr. Carter.
Dr. Carter, and what's Emily Blunt's character's name again?
Rita.
Reed. No, is it? Yeah, it is Reed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rita. Like, yeah, like how come? Like she's been in like she's like the front, like she's like the poster girl or poster woman of like the UDF. So like if she said yeah I can time loop, I'm sure people would probably believe her.
Well, I mean, she says that she in one of her time loops she was put in a mental asylum, so I guess she knows the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So she knows that they can't just publicly announce that. But I mean, yeah, what like I don't understand how that's ridiculous and outlandish when aliens are there,
Yeah.
like waging war on Earth.
I know.
Like get over it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like if yeah, I've mentioned most of what I've said already, but um, yeah, like
I can
considering that there's an alien invasion happening, do you not think that like life seems to be happening relatively normally? Like there's people like walking the streets with their dogs and shit.
Yeah, like it is strange because I think if there was like an alien invasion on that scale, like the whole world would be in meltdown. So I thought it was curious to
And
show
it
that.
just baffles me that yeah, the aliens have been really respectful and just staying to the battlefields. Like you don't see them just roaming the streets of London. Like they say, oh, like in one of the versions of the future they do invade London, but I mean they've been there for years. How have they not invaded every major city and just killed everyone?
It is quite nice of them just to stick to the beach, I suppose.
Yeah, they're being quite generous, like allowing a battle to occur instead of just killing everyone.
I know, I know. Like one thing I think this film does really well is the musical score. I think it's fantastic. And another thing is the comedy. Like I like when Cage like when he's trying to roll away from Sergeant Farrell, like he just gets run over by a truck. I thought it was quite humorous.
Also, like he just tries to like the first time he tries to like run away in his exoskeleton, he just like lumbers at like half a mile an hour.
Yeah,
Right.
I know. I suppose we can mention it now, but if not, I can let this out. But one question I wanted to ask you was, what are your thoughts on Rita and Cage losing the time travel ability when they get a blood transfusion? Because I thought that was ridiculously dumb.
Oh, I think it makes full sense to me. Sort of that they say that it's the aliens' blood being passed into their blood, so the aliens' blood's flushed out when they're given more human blood. I mean that makes sense to me. Well, what was your
Again,
issue with that?
it does make sense. I think maybe a potential plot line that could have worked better would be like like the mimics, brain or something, or like their thoughts went into them, because I don't know. I don't know. I just thought it was a bit weird for me because, and we'll mention this for the end of the film. Like, I don't know if he's fully lost the time loop ability. Like, it's hard to judge. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that they kind of needed to have that happen at the point at which it did, at the point at which it did, so that the last effort was a last ditch final attempt. Like it worked for me, I think.
Yeah, no, fair enough, mate. Cool.
I have to say, I despise the romance. I hate it on every single level.
Really?
Like, yeah, it's not like I don't see Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise together, but I mean, for her it's been one day, and for him it's been a while. But I mean, why can't a film ever happen and just a man and a woman are friends? Like,
Yeah.
I just don't sense any romantic chemistry, and then like they just pull a bloody like Star Wars Episode 9 and have them kiss right before
I thought that
the
was really out of
sacrifice.
place. I thought that was really out of
Yeah,
place.
it just doesn't work for me at all.
How long do you think he was in the time loop for? Because it would be very weird if like it's just been one day for Rita, but for him it could be like years.
It felt like months to me. Like
Hmm.
I don't think it went beyond years,
Hmm.
because I feel like if he had years, like they could have done something different than just entering the front. I mean, like it's weird to me that it didn't occur to them earlier that if they want to get away from the front, why would they go into the battlefield, fight their way out of the battlefield, and then drive away when they could just sneak out of the army base?
Hmm. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Like, one thing another thing I wanted to sort of praise the film for was like its amazing set design as well. I think the set design accompanied with the CGI was pretty great. But like it must be like so scary for like Cage to see like Rita die over and over again as well, because like he can just simply like wake up as and stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna praise their casting of the guy from Afterlife.
Yeah, I thought that was him. I was confused if it was or wasn't, because I think he was in Extras or Derek or something as well. I haven't seen
Yeah,
that them, but no, he was good, I thought.
he just gets constantly blown up, and then
Is he the one
in
with
the
the big
second,
like the big exoskeleton with like a gun on the back or something?
I don't know, but he has like jet black hair for some reason, which kind of baffled me.
I liked
Uh,
him. I liked him.
and there's one point where like Cage is just like taking no shit, and he's for some reason like he's like, oh, I don't want to see Rita die anymore, so I'm gonna walk through this and do it myself. But also Rita definitely died on that battlefield, and he just doesn't give a shit about like the guy from Afterlife getting like smooshed by a helicopter or something.
He gets absolutely destroyed, doesn't he? To be fair.
So many times, yeah. Uh, so did you have any points to make before we launch into the ending?
No, I'm happy to
Right.
crack right on, bro.
So I've written like a paragraph, and what I've written doesn't make sense, but that is my point, because I've written what happens in the film, and that also doesn't make sense. So I've
Go for
written,
it, man.
uh,
Go for it.
they killed the Omega on the day that he's repeating. He respawns that day, and despite the events of that day no longer having happened, the Omega was still killed? Question mark. How? Question mark. So so they killed the Omega, and then the alien blood of the Omega seeped into him, so he got that power again. So he's transported back to the day before, the day that he's been respawning. So it's now the day before the one where he's been respawning at. It's the
Is
day before that, but the Omega has been killed by them in Paris, which is meant to have taken place in the future. You know, which are events that have now been wiped clean. So what the fuck?
so basically they kill the Omega in Paris, but he wakes up the day before he goes to kill the Omega in Paris. So it's a paradox.
Yeah, so they kill the Omega, and then he dies. He gets imbued with the blood. So he goes, instead of going back one day, he goes back 2 days to the day where he's kidnapped by the government and forced to be a soldier.
Mhm.
So he's been taken back 2 days, but now that he's been taken back 2 days, there's now a new timeline in which the Omega has been defeated, but that's now happened 2 days earlier and not by him and his team. So what happened?
Yeah, that's it. Because he,
No
by all
sense.
means, like he should be still in the time loop then if he is in contact with the Omega's blood, right?
Well, I mean, I mean, like, no. Well, either he goes back and the Omega isn't defeated, or I would have been much happier if he just died, because that's a much better war film. It shows the realities of war. It's like a Rogue One-esque ending
Yeah,
where he just dies and mission completed, the world saved. It's not a neat little tied up bow.
yeah,
I would
yeah,
have loved that.
for sure, definitely, man, definitely.
I know I hate that because it makes no sense.
Definitely, man. Like, I think the ending felt very similar to like Days of Future Past. I thought the ending was like very abrupt. Like it just cuts with him like looking at Rita because she doesn't remember him. But I don't know. It was really strange. I thought it was really abrupt.
I'm still baffled. Like I found no explanation on the internet for the ending.
Yeah,
You know,
I
I looked
looked
at
I
the
looked everywhere, man. Couldn't find one
I
either.
like I have no idea. Like I don't know. I just don't know what happened. I don't understand.
Yeah, like it's a pity because I think the first 2/3 of the film were really great, and the ending does let it down. So it does. And like, would you like to see a sequel for this, or just leave it there?
Well, there's been a sequel in works for years, and apparently, like the director of the film, Doug Liman, says that Tom Cruise's idea for the sequel is going to revolutionize how people make sequels. So like, I want to see it for that sake, but I don't see where you go with it.
Yeah,
How do you feel?
I would like to see a sequel, but I don't. It's hard. It's a really hard one because the ending was so ambiguous and there was no real clarity on that. So I don't know where they could go with a sequel, but I would like to see their ideas for it for sure.
Like, it's not even like it's ambiguous. If it was like ambiguous, that'd be okay. Or if
Just
there
doesn't
was a
make sense.
definitive ending where he died, it just doesn't make sense because they've established that it's not time travel; it's like time resetting. So when he died and was imbued with the blood, okay, maybe that revived him and gave him the power back to reset the day. But when you reset the day, that means those events are wiped clean. So the Omega should still be alive.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm just not happy, Matthew. I'm
No,
just
I can
not happy.
understand. I can understand, bro. Did you have any other final points, my friend?
Well, I just feel like, you know, if they'd done something a bit like this seems very generic, the ending. Oh, we need to go kill the Omega. Oh, we go and we killed the Omega. I just think that's so boring. I think had they like they've called the aliens mimics for a reason.
Hmm.
So I feel like they should have given them like a shape shifting ability, and like maybe it turns out that the aliens weren't aware of the attacks because they have time travel. That's just like a coincidence.
Yeah.
They're aware because like the general is feeding them information. Like the general always seemed like a nefarious character to me. So like I really felt like I was building to like a villain reveal and it never
Me
happened.
too, actually. Yeah, because yeah, that's a really interesting one. I think I agree with you on 100% everything you've said there. To be honest, man, I think the general could have really worked. Are you talking about the Irish dude? Yeah.
Yeah, Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah, I think that really could have worked. Any relation to Donal? No.
Yeah, his dad.
Is it really?
Yeah, and he played Mad Eyed Moody in Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's where I heard I was. Ah, cool, cool. But yeah, I mean, it is a pity because the lack of sense in the ending and stuff. But no, I 100% agree with you, everything. I think a villain reveal would have been much improved, and especially
Yeah.
the general just accepts time travel as well, doesn't he? Like he just hands over the equipment to Cage, so that could have been like a cool twist.
Well, I like yeah, I don't know whether he believed him. It's kind of unclear because he also had like guards positioned outside which tried to arrest them and then ended up shooting them.
True,
So it's kind of murky as to whether he ever believed in the time travel.
true.
I'm not 100% clear on that.
Yeah, that is true, I suppose. Any other final
So
points?
Nothing more from me. Would you like to give your rating, Matthew?
I would give this film a 9 out of 10. I really liked it. I really want to hear yours, though.
You're being generous today.
I love them. I love this film. What was
Right.
yours?
So I think that the first 2/3 of the film are pretty much perfect, and then the final third of the film is garbage.
What's
So
it balance out at?
in the spirit of that, it balances out at a solid 6.5.
Okay, that's not as bad as I thought. That's not as bad as I thought, to be fair. I'll accept it.
Because I think the first 2/3 is so fresh and original. Like I hadn't seen a sci-fi, time loop film. Obviously because there's time travel involved. Some would say that's inherently sci-fi. But, Groundhog Day laid the groundwork, and then we've seen horror films like Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a sci-fi war film involving aliens that had a time loop.
Yeah.
So it felt fresh and original, and then the last third feels like forced, generic, and rushed.
Yeah. No, I think you're definitely right. I think there's a lot of room for improvement in this film, and it was certainly brought something new to the genre. But it is a pity how it ended. To be honest, like it sort of makes me not want a sequel in a way. But likewise, like I want to see where they could go with it. But you never know, mate. We never know.
I want an on-screen explanation of what happened in that ending.
Did you actually see? I read an article today about Tom Cruise is like filming an action. I think he's filming Mission Impossible in space.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear there was Mission Impossible, but I heard that he planned on being in the first film filmed in space. That was like apparently films have been filmed in space, but they weren't like a linear like story narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So that this will be the first.
Maybe it wasn't Mission Impossible. I might be making that up, but it would be cool if it was Edge of Tomorrow too, or something.
Yeah, like I think I think. But like by space, where do you think he means? Like, do you think he means like on like the National Space Center, or do you think he means on the moon?
I'll be funny if he was on the moon. To be fair, that would be great.
Because like I think if you had like one extended sequence of like a moon battle like with aliens, I think that would be unbelievable. I think that'd be revolutionary and incredible.
For sure. I think Tom Cruise he's one of those actors that like he can't really give a bad performance because he's just so good in everything, especially action films. Like he's aged so well, hasn't he? I think he's in his mid-50s, isn't he?
Yeah, he's also some would say not a good dude, but
I read an I was watching the True Geordie podcast, and they said he was a believer in Scientology.
He's one of the biggest public proponents for Scientology. Also, it's alleged.
Okay.
Strongly saying alleged. that his second marriage to Katie Holmes was actually an arranged marriage by the Church of Scientology.
Really?
Yeah, that they like found him a wife.
Jeez, are they still together?
No, unfortunately not. Wait, I think Katie Holmes was his second wife, and that Nicole Kidman was his third.
It's either that Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, he married like what was her name? Her name's Kiki something. Was his first wife, and then Katie Holmes and Nicole Kidman. I don't know in what order though.
Mimi Rogers, was it?
Mimi Rogers, yes.
I'm just on his Wikipedia. So.
Who was it? Who was his second? Who was his third?
Nicole Kidman and then Katie Holmes.
All right, okay.
Cool.
I mean, he doesn't seem like a bad dude. He like Scientology. The teaching of Scientology is obviously misleading, but it doesn't seem inherently dangerous. But the followers of Scientology seem sometimes allegedly
apparently
to be aggressive.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, there were people like I know you haven't seen That 70s Show, but one of the main stars of that, I think his name's Danny Masterson. He had a bunch of sexual assault accusations, and like the Church of Scientology members apparently threw like bricks through the windows of the accusers.
Wow. Apparently, Mimi Rogers introduced him to Scientology. There you go.
Wow. Good honor.
Yeah. But did you want to move on to our third and final film?
Yeah, sure. So I know this is the first time you'd seen this film.
Yeah.
I've seen this film. I think this is the third time I've watched it.
Okay.
And I've also unfortunately seen the sequel,
Happy Death
which
Day to you. Is it not as
I'm
good?
sure I'm sure we'll get to it. It's not as good. It's also just not a good film. It's quite bad.
Okay. Okay. Well.
I'll explain later if I must. But I have to say, for me, this film is a great concept. I've never seen a time loop used in a horror. Like, it's generous to call this a horror film. Like, it's a slasher film, but I wouldn't really say it's a horror film. But I really I don't think I've seen it done before in this context of the genre. Have you?
No, it's certainly like one of the founding fathers, if you will, for like this sort of genre. Like for me, it doesn't really belong in a genre because it fits in to so many so well. Like slasher, comedy, horror, action, maybe thriller. Like there's so many genres in there. But like there's so many things that would suggest it's a horror, but then the movie just subverts that with like funny montages with her walking naked in the university. You know, there's so many like funny moments in it. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just wondering, like, it seems to be like, uh, sort of a trend in these movies. For the most part, obviously, it doesn't happen in Edge of Tomorrow, but it seems that it's always like, bad people or not nice people that are put into these positions.
Mhm.
And it seems like I know for a fact that uh the cause of this time loop isn't anything like cosmic. It isn't a deity deciding that she has to live this day over,
Mhm.
uh, because it's explained in the sequel what happened.
Well, can you
But
explain to me after this? Yeah.
yeah, I'll explain after.
Cool.
Uh, but because we know it's definitely not cosmic retribution, I don't really understand why it's like coincidental that this is also an experience that makes her a better person.
I suppose yeah, the movie tries to balance that like moral reckoning with like the cosmic or with the not cosmic element, I suppose. But yeah, like it is weird. Like, what do you think of like is it Jessica Roth? Roth?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, like as Tree, like do you think she is good? Like do you think her character development is one from like sort of selfish and arrogant to ma- likable character? 'Cause I don't know if she is like inherently bad, but I suppose I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think she kind of just seems like like a generic sorority girl. She doesn't seem like an outright terrible person.
Yeah.
And obviously, we delve further into her backstory with the death of her mother, so there is context to her behavior,
Hmm.
which we see stripped back throughout the film.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was impressed because it did convince me of sort of a character progression. I don't know about her performance. I feel like that that role is kind of interchangeable.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of actresses could have done the same. Like I didn't feel an outstanding performance from her.
She reminds me a bit of like Amanda Seyfried. Is that yeah?
Yeah, I sort of I agree.
But I do think I 100% agree with you. Like, I think that many different actresses could have portrayed Tree. You know.
Do you also feel calling her Tree is sort of like a pathetic attempt to make them like fun and quirky?
Well, as a nickname, yeah.
Yeah, like her name's Teresa. Like where are you getting Tree?
I don't know. I
So
like it. It's unusual.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. If you say so. So very early on, we see the beginnings of the killer's plan.
Yeah.
And like whilst the reveal is at the end, we sort of see it from the very beginning. So can I talk about her plan a bit?
Yeah. The cupcake bit.
Yeah,
Go
so
for it.
her initial idea, Laurie's initial murder plan, is to poison her cupcake, which is such a terrible plan because that would limit suspects to like only close friends, as it's like a friendly, it's sort of like a friendly gesture to give someone a cupcake. So that would obviously be limited to friends and someone with a personal vendetta. So like you're suspect number one. Like
Yeah.
what are you
Yeah.
doing?
For sure. And that's the thing about Laurie. She is such an incompetent murderer.
Yeah, like
She's all.
she's the absolute worst.
Like, I'm not saying we would be skilled murderers. We've never attempted it or will attempt it, but I think we could have done a much better job.
Yeah, like I'm not poisoning a cupcake. I'm gonna make it look like an accident.
How would you do it? How would you do it?
Well, I mean, like, you see her like walking over a bridge, like push her off the bridge and then snap her neck. Like don't poison her cupcake or
Yeah.
you know, like light her car on fire. It's just the most dumb, incompetent shit. Like if you leave a strand of hair, you're getting found out.
I know, I know. The fingerprints will be all over that cupcake as well.
Yeah, and like she's doing this all because like she wants to be the only person also having an affair with this guy.
Yeah,
It's like, what are you doing about the wife? Like
yeah,
why are you knocking off his other mistress?
yeah. To be fair, I think the film does poke fun at the whole motive for the killing was like the whole affair thing, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you. Like Laurie just seems completely incompetent.
Like, there's so many times like she fails to kill Tree. Like the mask at the time, like the masked figure just jumps down off a bridge and she still fails to kill Tree. Like even though she does kill Tree in like every loop, she's not formidable because she gets away so many times.
Yeah, I mean, there are days where she survives to the next day, ultimately to have the day reset. But yeah, Laurie Field to kill her in one night.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why she didn't just come up with like one concrete way to kill her. Like it seems like she's always like improvising in the scenario that Tree creates. She's like, "Oh, there's a bat there, I'll just beat her to death," or "There's
Yeah.
a knife there, I'll stab her to death." It's like,
Yeah.
she really doesn't seem like a plan person.
No, definitely not.
Uh, I've written what? Okay, I don't know what I'm writing anymore. Like this is
Go for
just
it, mate.
inane trash.
It's all good.
Like what a good distinctive slasher mask persona.
I
Like,
think. Do
but
you think? I
what?
think the costume was cool. I like the mask. It's creepy.
Yeah, like I've never seen every time obviously like I'd say probably the most iconic masks. Probably like the three most iconic masks are Jason from Friday the 13th, Michael Myers from Halloween, and Ghostface from Scream. And I think this sort of puts in a very solid effort of having like a unique mask and persona. But like, why is a college mascot a baby?
Yeah, like for sure. Like,
Like, I'm just picturing that basketball game where they're like, "Let's go, baby,
yeah, I
let's
know. Yeah,
go."
yeah. It's not exactly like hip and cool, is it?
No, I mean, obviously, like the industry standard for mascots is an animal,
Yeah.
but they've gone babies, weak and formidable. It's
Yeah.
not exactly like the Tigers, is it?
No, I think like a crocodile mask would have worked, or some like a formidable animal or something, or
Yeah,
tiger.
like if you're gonna say that the killer's taken their persona from the mascot to blend in,
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like they probably could have done more to actually make it feel like a college mascot.
Yeah. Did you have any theories for who the killer was, like at the start of the film?
See, I knew going in who the killer was, so I wasn't able to formulate any theories. Did you have any suspicions?
Not particularly. I thought it was going to be the cliche, like the guy, the murderer, the serial killer. I thought it was going to be that, and I suppose that was a little disappointing because then there'd be like no personal connection. But I don't know.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like I wrote quite extensively on why I would have hated that, and I'm really glad that they subverted that.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I think they did do a good job of creating suspects and like really putting you off the idea that it was Laurie.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Laurie doesn't even appear on Tree's list of suspects, which I find a bit weird.
Hmm.
Because
Like,
I mean, I would have thought, okay, who has a personal vendetta against me, and then I would have put any person that I had pissed off ever.
yeah. Like, I love the scene where like the sort of the montage where she narrows down the suspects. I think that's really clever. Like that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Like, I don't think that I would convince myself that it was deja vu. Like, I think that I would quite instantly accept that I was in a time loop. Like, it feels like she had to go through the day like three times before going, yeah, I think this is probably the same day.
Yeah. To be fair, yeah, like Phil from Groundhog Day notices a lot quicker than she does.
Yeah. Like, I have to say, the surprise party that they throw for Tree, it just seems like so widely attended, and I'm just surprised that so many people will want to go to her birthday party.
Yeah, like, yeah, I suppose because it sort of reminded me, and this is such a weird stretch, but have you? I've been watching Normal People. Have you been watching it?
Uh, I got like halfway through the first episode. It was not for me. It was quite dull.
Really? It's so good. It's
Does
so
it
good.
pick up?
Yeah, because like there's a bit of a. I don't want to spoil it actually, but no, there's sort of like a sort of a party scene in that, and there's sort of like a lot of people attending. So I don't know whether it's an American culture, like where like if there's a party for a sorority girl that like everyone goes to it or whatever, but I don't know.
I mean, I suppose it's just because she's popular, but I don't really understand how like unpleasant people become that popular.
I don't know.
I don't know. That seems to be a trend in these kinds of films where like the more unpleasant you are, the more friends you have, which doesn't really correlate with
In
me.
the
Like I
real
don't really
life,
get.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I do think it happens in real life, but I don't understand it. But I have to admit, like I thought it was a really smart twist to have like her deaths in her past lives have a physical traumatic effect on her.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting element for it, but it was like, and that's sort of where it leads in like the horror aspect as well, I suppose, because a lot of her deaths were really brutal.
Yeah, and it sort of adds like a great amount of tension, sort of in the way that Edge of Tomorrow does, where he's on his last life. She's sort of every time on her potential last life because every blow could be fatal. Like it could end her life completely because she's taken the damage with her.
Hmm. Yeah, that's I think it's a really smart element for the film for sure.
Yeah. Uh, like I don't think there's ever really an explanation as to why Gregory has a baby mask hidden in a secret compartment in his desk.
Classic.
Like, does he just go and like support that football game in secret? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
like I mean, I guess maybe Laurie planted it there, but why does he have a secret compartment in the first place?
And see for Laurie, that mask must be so. No wonder she's so bad at killing her. Like that mask must be so hard to see through.
Yeah, to be fair, like, doesn't it already have like fake eyes over it, and then it's probably just like a tiny, tiny hole?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm really not convinced because sort of this seems very real world in that like it seems to like obey the laws of nature and physics. You know, unlike other slasher films, like especially Michael Myers and uh like Friday the 13th, they sort of create a universe in which the villains actually might have supernatural powers,
Hmm.
because they sort of like keep coming back despite being like stabbed and shot and
Yeah.
appearingly killed. They always come back. But like Laurie has no supernatural control whatsoever. She doesn't have any kind of powers, but it seems like she just does all these like death defying stunts. Like you say she jumps down from that bridge, but like she should have like broken her legs immediately. Like I wasn't convinced that
Yeah.
she wouldn't have died much more easily than she did.
Yeah. Like yeah, I suppose so because like because she doesn't have that supernatural element, the movie does stick out in like the slasher genre, if you want to call it that, because I haven't actually seen Halloween or Friday the 13th, but like this film definitely seems like a departure from that cliche of like the crux of the film is like centered on the evil guy rather this film is more from like Tree's perspective as well. And the fact I don't know how the time loop is explained, but it doesn't seem like a supernatural element, you said.
Yeah, I mean, I can just give you a brief explanation.
Yeah, go
It's
for
sort of the guy Ryan who keeps running in and going like, "Oh, did you get any of that like fine vagina?"
it.
Uh, yeah, it turns out that he's sort of like a science major and he's been working on like a quantum mechanics project that for whatever reason on that day malfunctioned and created the time loop, and she just happened to be in it. So like
Okay.
it's a complete coincidence that that was the day that she was being murdered as well.
Wow, that's interesting actually. That's pretty cool.
But then I don't know why, like on that basis, why does the day reset when she dies? Like she does, it doesn't seem like she should be in control of when it resets. Like
Yeah,
that
like
that doesn't
she
really
shouldn't be like the
make sense.
focal point of it, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, like it should reset when the day is over. It shouldn't reset when she dies.
Hmm.
If like if the science behind it is just resetting the day every time, it shouldn't be resetting when she dies. It should just reset when the day ends.
Yeah, like, and this is sort of related to like the whole the whole the killer is like the sort of like has cosmic abilities, because I think that I would have much preferred if the film had multiple murderers who all have a common motive or interest, rather than it just being Laurie. Like, I'd imagine for like a second viewing, like the film loses a lot of its tension because it's Laurie who is like incompetent at killing. So I would have preferred it if it was like multiple people.
Yeah, which a lot of other slasher films have done very effectively, and I think that's always an interesting twist. And then you can sort of like pick out where like one was a more persistent killer, and then the other one was a bit more incompetent. Like I like to see
Yeah,
sort of the divide between their techniques, and then
definitely,
that
mate.
that suspicion sort of builds. Yeah, I think
Definitely,
that adds a lot more intrigue, which I think is maybe missing here.
for sure, mate, for sure.
But I thought it was incredibly obvious that Toombs wasn't the killer because like every time the tree is murdered, it seems personal. And as you said, he has no personal stake in it.
Yeah,
I thought the first time I watched it that maybe he was the killer and it was going to be revealed that he murdered Tree's mom.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then this was him like continuing his vengeance on that family.
Hmm.
But then they completely avoided doing that. So I was sort of baffled as to why they even entertained the idea that it was him trying to kill Tree because I was like, well, he has no personal stake in it, as you said.
Yeah, I would have loved that. Your idea, mate. Actually, that would have been great. Really good.
I mean, that's been done in other films, so I feel like I also would have criticized that for lack of originality, but I felt that's how they were building. I thought that's what they were building to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I think that yeah, I agree with you about Tree's character arc. Like I do think that there is quite a big transition, and I think she becomes incredibly pleasant, especially because we sort of see, say in Groundhog Day, it like Phil is in Groundhog Day for at least 10 years.
Hmm.
We find out that Tree is literally only in this for 15 days,
Yeah,
and I feel like she goes through a bigger character arc than he does.
yeah. That's interesting, mate. Like 15. Yeah, 15 years. Oh, sorry, 15 days to 10 years. Like that's a big difference. And she develops like really quick like that. I suppose that does tend to happen when like you're being murdered every day.
Yeah, and I suppose that shows that she was a better person to begin with because her transition came around a lot easier.
Hmm.
What disappointed me though was that obviously there's one version of events where she's a really nice person to everyone in that day, but then at the end of it, Carter gets killed, so
Yeah,
she has to hang herself. So she doesn't actually get to live with that being the definitive version of events, which kind of saddened me because like I
yeah.
want everyone's opinion of her to be good.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Like I think like the brutal realization of like because Carter's killed, like she has to kill herself. Like that's pretty brutal as well for like a film that has like comedic aspects as well to it. But yeah, like, have you got any other points about it before we head into the ending, mate?
Um, Um, yeah, no, we can launch right into the ending.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, bro? I'm really interested to hear your thoughts about like the twist, so to speak.
Well, quite honestly, I think like suspect wise, I thought it was quite a satisfying conclusion because I think had I not known who the killer was going in, I would have been really surprised. But like it's not like you were absent of clues, so I think it really balances mystery well. As we've talked about the Scooby Doo films for the last couple of weeks, and we've always seemed to agree that a mystery is best served when the villain is revealed, and you say, well, I didn't guess that, but I see where the clues were planted.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like there are seeds of clues that it was Laurie planted throughout, where it says, she gives her the cupcake, and then they say that there's a new guy that she's been sleeping with, but they don't say who it is.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
retroactively, I feel like there were enough clues to guess it, and I feel like had I not known going in, I would have still been surprised.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, mate. I think it's a fantastic twist, but a really poor motive, if I could describe it like that.
Yeah, like I would have been fully surprised that it was her, but yeah, perhaps I would have been so surprised because she had no reason to be killing, because it's
Yeah.
like he was, she was the guy's other mistress. It's like, yeah, that's a really shit motive.
I mean, the
I
film
mean,
even points it out itself. Like like Tree says, like you killed me over some stupid guy, and
yeah,
then
because Tree seems like so uninvolved. Like she seems to like only be having sex with him. It's not like she's in love with him.
Yeah, yeah, I know, but like, yeah, I don't know. I think this film, it's not perfect, but I think the twist is good. It is good.
Yeah, I think Tree's probably gonna. I was surprised that Tree had such an easy time convincing the police that that was self-defense because
Yeah,
it looked very murdery to me. That
did.
she tripped her out of a window and onto like spikes. Like that
Yeah,
seems super murdery to me. And she was like, nah, nah, nah,
nah.
self-defense.
I think it'd be cool if Tree was the murderer or something. I don't know how that would work, but I thought that'll be interesting. It's like a
That would
future
that would
version.
have been interesting. But oh, so that's sort of there's similar elements in Happy Death Day to You. Not
Oh, really?
similar
Okay.
similar.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, literally like half an hour later, we see like the news broadcast, and she's just sitting in a diner with blood all over her clothes. I'm like, she's not even at the police station, let alone being charged with murder. I
I
mean, I
know.
don't know how she convinced them. Like, I get that there's a poisoned cupcake there with Laurie's prints on it, but I mean, like Tree could have made that and said, "Oh yeah, Laurie made that." Like,
Yeah.
where is the evidence
Yeah.
that Laurie was planning this?
No, there is. Yeah, that is true. Like it seemed very like off the cuff. Like she just just did it there and then.
Also, like their motive for murder would be the same if she was like, "Oh yeah, she wanted to kill me because she was also having sex with the doctor, like Dr. Gregory." Then they would be like, "Well, if you wanted
Yeah.
to murder her, that would be the same motive."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, I really don't think they would have believed her. Like I think she would have got done for murder.
I think so. Especially like you said, I never actually really considered that. Like the motive is exactly the same. So Tree could have just been using that excuse for her own excuse to save herself.
Yeah. I feel like the relationship with Carter is much more likely to work than, like, say, the Phil and Rita romance in Groundhog Day, just
Okay.
because they haven't spent years together, but she knows that she likes him,
Hmm.
and also like he's someone that's actually willing to believe that she was stuck in that time loop all day, of that day for so long.
So you're saying it's
Uh,
more of a natural romance, yeah?
yeah, because they don't know enough about each other that like that'll be detrimental to their relationship. Like I
Hmm.
feel like they still have time to build a relationship, and like she just knows that she likes him. She's not like in love with him and has like devoted her time loop to making him fall in love with her.
Yeah.
Like it's not like she has some sort of like creepy fascination with him.
Hmm. No, that's true, mate. That's a really good viewpoint of it, I think.
So did you have any final points, or do you want to launch on the ratings?
I'm happy to launch right into ratings, dude. What would you give it?
Well, I think that this balances like the time loop and a mystery really well. Uh, I'd say it's nearly as good as Groundhog Day, but it lacks some originality in the slasher themes. But I think incorporating the slasher genre with time loops makes it inherently original.
Yeah.
So I have to give it nearly as much credit as Groundhog Day and more than Edge of Tomorrow. So I think I'm going to give it a solid 7.5.
That's really good. I was really interested to hear your thoughts on that. I'd give it an 8, similar, because I think this film is really groundbreaking in its genre. Like it's really, I've never really seen a film like this before that fits into so many genres. And I know I thought it was really interesting. Great plot, good twist, but then the motive sort of lets it down for me. But still a good watch. I'd recommend it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So have you enjoyed watching these films
I
for this
have really
episode?
enjoyed watching these films with Fred. This has been one of my favorite episodes.
I was gonna say like this is probably the batch of films that you've like rated like consistently high.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Like all of them were
like out
above
of
an 8.
30, you gave like 27 out of 30.
Yeah, I love them all, really, to be honest. I am a big sucker for time loop film, though, as I've said. So but no, like I love them all actually.
Are there any that like spring to your mind when you think time loops?
In terms of other films, or just
Yeah, if we were to do a part two,
I'm trying to think what other time loop films there are. I've
because
seen.
like when we first met has a lot of ingredients of time loop, but he's not like reliving the exact same day every time.
Yeah,
So I
and
I,
it's
I don't
different as
know.
well because like it just fast forwards to the future
Yeah,
as well. But
I've seen that film about 3 times, But like I still really enjoy it.
Me too. Me too. We'll definitely do a part 2 though, for sure.
100%. If we can cobble together some ideas, we'll definitely have a part 2 out for you guys.
Definitely. Well, yeah. On behalf of Callum and myself, thank you so much for listening and watching this episode. We really do appreciate it. Hope you guys are all safe and well, and we'll be back very soon with another Movie Mates video. So thanks so much,
So
guys. Take care and bye bye.
email us at
Yes,
moviematespodcast@gmail.com with
Movie Mates
any
Podcast. Email.
thoughts, comments, recommendations, hate mail? Question mark.
Please hit me up.
I mean, like, don't go like, fully abusive.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, yeah. Don't
like
go,
give us some
don't go in on
comedy.
it. Yeah, for sure, for sure. We'd love to do an email section, wouldn't we? So just email in like your questions for us or what movies you want us to review. That'll be fun.
Yeah. We've had one viewer email so far, Thomas.
What a lad! What a he is like the if there's like a plaque of like the founding fathers of subscribers, he's up there.
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to hear from him or anyone else.
For sure.
So hit us up. Thank you very much for listening, as Matthew said.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
See you guys. Bye bye. Cool. I'm just gonna stop that recording now.